Joining me now is Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. He was in that meeting at the White House. Senator, what happened? What turned? When did this meeting go south?
Well, from my perspective, the meeting started off with the president walking in and slamming down his files on the table, suggesting that this was a meeting he agreed to, but that we had asked for. No one had asked for the meeting. I got an invitation from the White House. It wasn't at my solicitation or the speaker's or the Democratic leader of the Senate. And it was belligerent from the get-go. And when you have the President of the United States, who's supposed to bring our country together, particularly in times of challenges, call the Speaker a third-rate politician, suggest that Democrats who support the Kurds because they have fought for us, and the Kurds, according to him, are communists, so Democrats should be happy with that, in essence calling us all communists. And when, in fact, you have someone who belittled General Mattis as too weak, and then goes on to not show a grasp and understanding of what has been unleashed by his decision, particularly as it relates to the potential reconstitution of ISIS and Iran getting a land bridge to attack our ally, the State of Israel, and handing Russia a major role. Well, that's worrisome. And so, the Speaker was restrained until he continued to belittle her and Democrats in general. And as the third in line to the presidency and Speaker of the House, I don't think she should have had to take that type of abuse.
You said overnight, quote, "I did not see a person in control. You just told me it was worrisome." What do you mean by that?
Well, it's the President of the United States who's the commander-in-chief. It's the President of the United States who holds the code to the nuclear weapons of this country. It's the President of the United States that has to get other leaders in the world to join us in common cause. I did not see a person who was of the temperament and had a grasp of the issues that would ultimately inure to a sense of feeling that there was a person totally in control. What I saw yesterday, I have not seen in 27 years and serving under 4 different presidents.
What do you mean?
I saw a person who, I was here when George Bush was the president. We didn't always agree, but he was always agreeable. He was someone who would listen. It wasn't combative in tones when you engaged with him. It was someone who, at the end of the day, you might disagree with him, but you felt that there was a sense of calm and steadiness at the White House.
Are you suggesting,
that is not what I sensed.
Are you suggesting you have questions about mental capacity is the word people toss around? Are you concerned he's not up to the job at this crucial moment?
Well, I don't know about mental capacity. I'm not an expert to determine that. I am simply saying that someone who is the commander-in-chief needs to bring our country together in common cause and acts the way he acts is not something that I want to see in the President of the United States. And when we challenged him, what is your strategy on ISIS? What guarantees do you have that the 10,000 ISIS fighters that have been detained by the Kurds are not going to get released in the course of these events? How are you going to stop Iran from coming into Syria, which is already there, fighting on behalf of Assad for some time, to get an attack point against Israel? What are you going to get from Russia in this regard? When there are virtually no answers to that other than don't worry, then I worry.
And I know you pushed him on just that fact. Liz Cheney, reportedly from Wyoming, Republican member of Congress, noted that the al-Qaeda terrorists on 9/11 came from 7,000 miles away. So the idea that this isn't happening on our border might not be applicable. And apparently, the president handed out copies, or asked, I think it was Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leader of the House, to pass out copies of this letter the president says he sent to President Erdogan last week. Let me just read an excerpt of that. Let's work out a deal. You don't want to be responsible for slaughtering thousands of people, and I don't want to be responsible for destroying the Turkish economy, and I will. Don't be a tough guy. Don't be a fool. Then the president says, I will call you later. The president wanted this handed out. He thought this would bolster his argument that he was in control of the situation. Was that your understanding?
Yeah, I mean, he handed this letter to all of us. I first read the letter and I said, wow, that's one heck of an interesting letter, the way it's written. But what I took the letter to be is basically cover your backside at the end of the day. He saw the reaction from Congress and from others in the foreign policy and national security establishment have a huge backlash, and he wanted to, in essence, show that he had a different calculation. But this letter is only after you unleash the gates of hell at the end of the day and gave a green light to Turkey.
Senator Bob Menendez, I know you, along with the rest of us, are waiting to see the results of this meeting with Mike Pence and the Secretary of State and President Erdogan. Hopefully we'll talk to you after that. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.